Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I hope your brain is screwed on better than mine. Just sitting here thinking about, I had a great time voting. Went over to the local junior high school and placed my vote and I'm going to get my candidate, give her a check mark. And I came home and I'm about to tell you all about it. And I think, what the hell was I voting for? The mayor's done. I think it was a provincial election, but I'm not sure. It wasn't federal because Trudeau hasn't been, waving a sign. So anyways, I voted regardless as to what the heck it was for. Okay. Sometimes my lack of engagement with the broader picture is kind of shocking. So that brings me to my small world of books. And I've got a fun little one for you that was given to me as a gift. Someone went to one of the free libraries and saw this and thought of me, and it is a sweetie. It's called Shakespeare Cats by Susan Herbert. And all the major plays that Shakespeare wrote are illustrated in a beautiful fashion and with cats as the main characters. And then there's a black and white illustration on the opposite side for each one. And this one I'm just showing you is Hamlet. I would say that the costuming is pretty accurate and the architecture is pretty accurate. Of course, the cats are inaccurate, but hey, it was Shakespeare. We can all do what we want with theater if we've got enough money. So anyways, it's a sweet book. And who published it? There's 32 color illustrations, all done by Susan Herbert, and it's by the publishers Thames, Thames, and Hudson. And it's from 1996. We were having a discussion, a friend of mine I just bumped into the library, and we were talking about picture books, and for young people in particular. And they're just not on the shelves, not only for a long period of time. Gonna sneeze. So it's frustrating when you come across a picture book and you think, wow, that's a real treat. And then if you don't pick it up immediately, like if you saw it in the library and you want to go get it from your bookstore, chances are it's already aged out of the bookstore. Or the other side of it is that the library, for some reason, is desessioning picture books just rat-a-tat-tat. And I don't really understand that. I mean, a lot of these books are award-winning books for their illustrations or for their concepts or their poetry or what have you, and I just don't see the problem with hanging on to a lot of books. It's not like they're weighing a building down and wrecking the foundation. Just get a couple more shelves. Wouldn't it be great if we had an overabundance of books to choose from, especially picture books? They're so delicious. So I don't know whether you're going to be able to find that. I have regret around a Christmas book that I saw once. It was so beautiful. And it was a ship that was sort of a toy shop. And Christmas Story, the toy maker, was in the Ark, and the Ark was sort of the Santa equivalent. But it was just a galleon, and oh my goodness, everything was beautiful about it. And I picked one up for my daughter because she was really into tall ships. And I thought, I'd like a copy. So I went back next Christmas to pick it up, thinking, beautiful book like that. Gone. Couldn't order it in, nothing. And so the moral of the story is, if you see a children's book in whatever fashion on a booktuber's site or what have you, and you think that's just the ticket, go get it. It's worth the money too. I mean, I have a stack of children's books. I'm way past reading them, except that the art is just so inspiring. And if you live in a small space and you can't have a lot of art up on your walls, picture books. Okay, the other book that I picked up that where am I? Okay, this one. I waited for 2 years for this book to come in. It's called Bojagi. And it is a Korean form of patchwork and quilting. And probably it doesn't show up in the cover too well on screen, but a lot of the textiles, let's see whether yellow never shows up well on the screen, but a lot of the textiles are sheer. I'm going to say that sentence again. A lot of the textiles are sheer, and that's a thing that I use a lot in my own textile work, are transparent fabrics. And because these are transparent, you have a hard time hiding the seams. And this is a technique where you're not hiding the seams, you're celebrating the seams. And so I thought, well, how are they going to do that? And it turns out, I know, it's French seams and flat felled seams, and you can do them by hand and you can do them by sewing machine. It's not new technical information, it's more of an aesthetic piece of information. And yeah, so of course in often we see in Asian art books the precision, oh my word, the precision, which is entirely not my story. I'm nothing close to precision. But this is a wonderful book to look through. It has gorgeous, gorgeous artwork by the artist Sara, and I got it from Halifax Libraries. Now, I think I had to wait for them to buy it. That was part of the wait. And then I think there was a bit of a lineup to get it. And it's Batsford Press, 2019. I don't know why it took so long for them to get it. Isn't that interesting? Anyhow, I'm really enjoying this. It's a great book to look through. Not when you're drinking tea, because don't spill tea on an art book. Just a hard lesson learned many years ago. All right. I am currently reading The Drowned Woods. That is written by Emily Lloyd-Jones. It's a book club for Woozle's Choice. And this is a book about a story about a young girl, Myrrh, who has magical powers, and she can shift water and use it as a weapon. And it turns out I've read it before, and I did, but I didn't realize I had fully, I was convinced that I had read it before when I'm reading about her as a young girl sneaking down into a dungeon and watching a prisoner, she's hiding behind a wall, watching a prisoner get murdered by having someone stab a knife into his eye. And I thought, I did read this book before. That stuck with me. So, but I don't terribly remember it. So I have a feeling I didn't give this a great score. I'm finding it kind of plot-less. It's about overthrowing a prince, and a bunch of sort of misfits are coming together in order to do that. The trouble I have with these kinds of stories is there's no secondary game plan. Let's get rid of the bad guy, and then what? You know, so it's the then what that we're not exploring, but we're also not really exploring why the guy's a bad guy. There are many, many leaders who are bad guys that don't need to be assassinated. But so I'd like to know, why does he deserve an assassination? What makes him so special? So it's an okay book. Emily Lloyd-Jones, though, has written others, and I believe it is the Bone Houses that brought me to reading her as an author. Plus, it was a book club choice. So she has 4 other books, and they have all received good reviews. So that's Emily Lloyd-Jones. And that'll be in the information down below. The second book that I have to read, which is a reread for me, but I loved this book, sort of the opposite approach, is All My Rage. It is by Sabaa Tahir. She has a new book out. I'm making an assumption that, yes, Sabaa is female. And this is quite an interesting book. It's about children of immigrants. And the one fellow, Sahaladin, is the son of 2 immigrants, Indian immigrants, who, India, Pakistan, I'm sorry to blur that line, so I don't remember exactly which country he comes from. I have a feeling Pakistan. His parents have opened up a sort of down-and-out motel in a community that's not particularly interested in having diversity, and he has they're not actually cousins, but in the way of extended family. He has a cousin called Noor, and she is living with her uncle. Her parents are deceased, and she's come from his hometown to live with the uncle. The uncle is pretty abusive. We don't actually see that on the page in there aren't any scenes of him beating her up or whatever else. But Noor and Sahaladin have been children together, and as they're going through this town as the only two people of color, they are, struggling, especially as they hit high school, and what are they going to do in terms of escaping? And they both have quite different game plans. And Sahaladin has had something happen in his early life that is really haunting him. Mom is dying of cancer, dad is an alcoholic. So this is where, that's that little moment of one problem too many. Helping with the hotel, mom dying, dad alcoholic, like any two would be okay, even any one would be okay, plus the diversity issue. It's just, I do struggle when some of these people have, a grocery list of problems, because I'd really like to just see how they're going to cope with one or two of them. 3 and 4, it just becomes overwhelmed, and that's what happens to Saladin, but so did I as the reader. Just got a little bit overwhelmed. I ranked this 5 out of 5 and recommended it to one of my book clubs. It is, the relationship between Noor and Saladin is beautiful. And the way that they support each other, but also the way they kind of crash together and need to just separate in order to really be themselves. It's not just a love story. It's also about finding self-worth and their own paths and breaking away from parental. I don't want to. It's not exactly abusive to have an alcoholic parent who's just a benign alcoholic, but they're oppressive. And so how do you slip out from under the oppression of parents who are needier than the kid? So these are all the component parts that are coming together in this small town that is also just not really very supportive as a group, but there are individuals in the town who are helpful. I think this is a terrific book, and I know she's got a new one out, and so I'm going to put my name in the probably 400 people that are waiting for it at the library. So I really recommend this. I think it also would make a great book club read, because the teenagers in here are not your typical American entitled needy kids. They are pretty much have grown up way earlier and are dealing with significant issues. So totally love this book. All right, the other thing I did was I went onto the library site and picked up all the recent Printz Award books that I haven't yet read. And Printz, P-R-I-N-T-Z, comes out of the American Libraries Association awards. And this award is driven primarily by the readers themselves. And so although there's an oversight committee, the votes are coming in either, I'm not exactly sure of the method, it's either coming in through what teens across America are actually voting for, or it's more like the librarians are paying attention to the books that are really hustling off the shelves that aren't, the latest graphic novel. So speaking of graphic novels, Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Mariko Tamaki and Rosemary Valero O'Connell. And I'm DNFing it. I am not going to finish reading it, even though it was a runner-up and an honors and so on. It's 2 young women in high school, and one of them is what is she? She's sort of, she's just somebody, she's an opportunist and a romantic opportunist. She just doesn't have any kind of stick-to-itiveness, any interested in developing relationships. And the other young girl is smitten and keeps falling into the trap of this woman's lack of attention and then paying attention, and just this game that Laura Dean is the one who has little attention span, and the other girl is Freddie Riley. Why am I DNFing it? I mean, it's a good story, but it has to do entirely with the graphics themselves. A lot of them are, it's just mostly black and white with this pink under spotting once in a while. And visually, I find it very hard to, I find it very hard for my eyes to stick on the page. And there are thought bubbles, but then there's also text moments. Then there's also pages where there's sort of a conglomeration of images. Now, like on this page, for instance, I'm not really sure where to start. Okay, I could figure it out, right? I'm not foolish. But it's just, I have to look at it several times and try and think, what's the message? What's the message? This person is running away. Something's happened. I don't know what's happened. I'm missing something significant. And and even on the pages where there's text, I'm still thinking, I'm not getting it. I don't know, maybe there's a lot of hidden subtext that I'm not getting. Not my favorite. Then I was talking about the Prince Awards, right? I should stick to that. So I'm not going to go into a huge explanation. I'm just going to show you what I've picked up because I will be talking about these hopefully in December sometime. It'll take me a little while to read them all. But just assume that because they're a Prince Award, and which you can look up, you can look under the American Library Association, and then look for the subheading Prince Award, or you can go to the book at your library, use the information I have below, and then type it in at your library and get a bigger explanation. But just assume these are excellent books, except for that one. And this is not the full complement. These are the ones that I haven't read. The Beast Player by Nabokov Uehashi. Translated by Kathy Hirano. And a sweeping fantasy about a girl with the special power to communicate with magical beasts and about the warring kingdom only she can save. I think, sometimes when I look at these awards, I'm also a little bit like, what am I hungry for? And I think some of these I just wasn't in the mood for at the time. Salt the Water by Candice Iloh, I-L-O-H. This was a National Book Award finalist as well as the Prince honoree. It's got a great, great cover, and I think there's something else. I seem to remember this going through my eyeballs, maybe on a newsletter from my local bookstore or something. But Cerulean Jean is free everywhere except school, where they're known for a repeatedly challenging authority. Raised in a free-spirited home by two loving parents who encourage Cerulean to be their full self, they've got big dreams of moving cross-country to live off-grid with their friends after graduation. But a fight with the teacher spirals out of control, and Cerulean impulsively drops out to avoid the punishment they fear is coming. Why wait for graduation to leave an oppressive capitalist system and live their dreams? I think that every day. Good for Cerulean if you can figure it out. So that's coming. All right, this one is Gather by Kenneth M. Cadow, C-A-D-O-W. I love the cover. I'm sorry, I didn't hold that up long enough. Sorry. Okay. Ian isn't supposed to have a dog, but a lot of things that shouldn't happen end up happening anyway. And Gather, Ian's adopted pup, is good company now that Ian has to quit the basketball team, find a job, and keep an eye on his mom as she recovers from the back injury she got at work. Ian is great at a bunch of things that aren't graded in school, and with a shocking turn of events, sends Ian and Gather on the run. Ian's got to pull all his practical skills to use. So it's about teen resilience and one community's ability to unite in the face of unthinkable hardships. And the last one is Ordinary Hazards, a memoir by Nikki Grimes. And it is actually an autobiography, nonfiction. And Nikki Grimes, who's Nikki Grimes when she's at home? She discovered the power of writing at the tender age of 6. When alone in her room, she poured her fears, anger, and tears onto a piece of paper and felt sweet relief. Words and faith were her most enduring companions as life flung her headlong from one harrowing experience to the next through her childhood and teenage years. In the course of this remarkable memoir in verse, Nikki Grimes shows how grace, wisdom, and the power of words can help a brave soul conquer the hazards, ordinary and extraordinary, of life. I bet I didn't pick it up because it's A, an autobiography, B, in verse. I don't know. It's not singing out to me, but I have this mission to read those books that on that list. Okay, I think that's it. That's it for what I plan to read. I did actually finish a book that you would be interested in. I wonder if I should do this one. How's that for a teaser? I'm going to talk about this one next week. You're going to have to come back next week in order to find out what I think of Followed by the Lark by Helen Humphreys. Oh my God, is that teasing or what? Some of you who've been here for a long time know that I've been working my way through Helen Humphreys' backlist, and this is one of her more recent ones. It is following the life of Henry Thoreau, sort of as he's about, I'm going to say he's about 21. He's in Harvard when we start to meet him. No, he's 19. And he's not quite at Harvard. And so we're getting to know him sort of at the beginning of his journals. And what Helen Humphrey has done is read extensively about Henry Thoreau and given us a vision of him that is inspired and informed by his journals. So I will talk about this one next week, and I have one more to go before I have accomplished my goal. This was published in 2024, so I'm sure it's on the shelves now if you want. I think that's it for me. Did you like my plant? November is when the Christmas cactus comes out, and it's going to be a beautiful pink. There isn't one that's fully out yet. Oh, it's coming. And then I have another one that's white with pink, so I'll just enjoy these flowers while they're still here. Yeah, I think that's all I have to talk about today. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I will see you next time. Da-da-da-da. Bye-bye for now.